I first started working with WCCF in the early 1990s when I was an undergrad here at UW-Madison. Like almost 20 years later, moved back to Madison and find WCCF again for their work on kids count and public policy, and came to them with the idea of doing sort of a data analysis on racial disparities for Dane County, and that was in 2012. The Race Equity Report revealed that the distance in well-being between African Americans and whites in Dane County, this wonderfully progressive city, was greater than any other place in the state, and for the most part any other place in the nation.
You know, when that report came out, it's something that we knew, but when that report came out, it was something that everybody can talk about, all races can talk about. And I learned a lot. When that report came out, I persistently had meetings and forums just to talk about it, just to get a sense of what people thought, how they feel. I was able to hold forums, and then I started realizing, well, this person had problems with the landlord. They don't know who to go to. So I started listening, and then that's how I started creating my different forums to help. And it was positive outcome.
There were always those lists of like Madison named best place to live in the country, and those things really were just what most of the people that I was friends with believed and understood as true. And that's because most of my friends were white, and my friends who weren't white were probably privileged enough that they didn't face those same issues.
I think as we started down the path with the Race to Equity project, I think we knew that there was disparity in our community and in our state. And as someone who worked within child welfare systems around the country and around the state, I understood how disparate the impacts were of the child welfare system and of the juvenile justice system, which often go hand in hand in our country and in our states. And so I knew some of that information, but what I didn't fully understand, and I don't think we fully understood as an organization, was how broad and how deep those challenges were.
I was on the board when the project was first envisioned and then president as it was developed. And at the beginning I was wondering myself, will more data about disparities really be an impetus to change? You know, the Urban League of Madison and others had done similar reports. But I think that it became a very strong mirror to the community because it pulled data together from many sectors and said we have a deep pattern of disparities that's worse here than in many places. And I think that mirror made the community take a hard look at itself. And even those of us who thought that we knew those data, to kind of say seriously, what's our lane, what's our role in trying to make a difference? How do we use our time, our money? How do we change the systems, the employment places, the boards where we are? And even WCCF itself we've been changing board membership, we've been changing some of the staffing patterns, and we've been trying to think about our work methods so that we can make a difference. So I think it's made a big impact on a lot of people. Work is not done yet for us or for the community, but it's made some real difference so far.
And so one of the things that I've needed to think about is, well, what is the appropriate role of WCCF, and also what is the appropriate role of me as a white male in this work, and thinking about how one can use the privilege that I have to help drive this conversation in a positive way in the ways that I can. And that's also why the engagement part is so important, both with community members and with staff.
I think we're human. We were born to have potential, I think what Race to Equity did is it took one racial cultural group and really dug deep and really dug out the different systemic and structural barriers that are indeed real and true. And it makes everyone really take a good look at it where you can't turn away. And so in knowing that this is true for one group, you recognize, especially those who work around making life better for people, you recognize that this isn't just a one-off situation. It isn't only true for the African American community. It is true for other racial and cultural groups. And I think that people know that and understand it. What they don't know is, how is it different? There are some components that are the same, but how is it different for the Native American community? How is it different for the Latino community? How is it different, for Somalians or for Hmong? So yes, there's racism, and we know that there's institutionalized processes in place that need to be rectified and disrupted and changed in a way that's good for everyone, and in a way that's equitable for everyone. But the work that needs to be done is going to have to be done carefully and with thought about what it is exactly you're trying to change, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. And I think that's what Wisconsin and what Race to Equity is helping to get people to understand. We have always been able to have the capacity to solve and work towards a better quality of life and good well-being, but you have to know where to start. And I think that Race to Equity gives us the opportunity to think about where to start.